Hey everyone, weekly market update. Been very busy in my real life, so getting to these videos along with other stuff is going to be very challenging for me the next couple of months. Um, won't get into the personal details, but I'll just leave it at that. So, if you guys watched my market update from the last time, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, Bitcoin's point of view really hasn't changed outside of the sweep of the lows. And I told you guys that this was a conditional trade. We swept the lows right there, okay, with this sweep, closed above, back into the range, SFP'd. This was your trigger too long, and if you had done so, you got about a 3.5 hour trade currently. So this is no longer valid. I'm going to remove these. This supply zone here, we tapped into it perfectly. That was a short opportunity. If you guys have been watching my videos, you would see how I am trading these. We had the bearish order block as well. But this was the play that I gave on the last update as well, or the last market update, and it's still viable. It is still valid. It is the range high short, and just like down here, the range lows. Every time we got down to range lows, although this is a deviation in a 1 hour, sorry, a 1 day SFP, this is still valid to take up here until the range is completely broken. So 109.9-ish, heavy resistance here. One, just like the deviation we had down here, right? Deviation, rejection, rejection. Now this is going to be the fifth or fourth touch of this area. So with each touch, this gets weaker and weaker. All right. So if you are taking this, I would go in with a half size short than normal, but we still are range bound. And in the event that we break down from 100K, I made that Bitcoin micro and macro analysis video. Those levels have not changed and will not change. So these levels that I have here, this demand zone, this previous SR point, which was our market structure break, and then our lower levels here. These are all levels that are going to be valid for the next 5 to 6 months, okay, depending on your micro and macro analysis. So what I'm looking for, I'm going to go to a cleaner chart here. Okay, we look like we want here. We have a 3 drive. Okay, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. Okay, so this looks like it wants to break out. I wouldn't call this a bull flag. This is more of a channel, but we are at the, or we just rejected from this downtrend resistance. Okay, like I said, 109.9 remains the resistance to break, but depending on how people play inverse head and shoulders, here is a inverse head and shoulders. Okay, so for me, if the risk to reward isn't there to long up here, all right, and we'll break this down on a lower time frame. But if we are able to get above here, basically at 109.9, then that's the trigger for me to go long with probably stops below there. But on a lower time frame, okay, we are basically just barcoding here with no real price action. And Bitcoin volatility, which is a chart that helps identify big moves that are to happen. We just hit the lowest point since basically June of last year. Okay, and as you guys can see, volatility in the summer. So when we get down here, it just means that volatility is very tight. The range is very tight. That's exactly what it was back here last summer. All right. Volatility is going to be low. It is summer. People are out enjoying their lives. They're touching grass. So same thing I expect to happen. I mean, I expected alts to continue to run if Bitcoin consolidates, and I still expect that to happen. And now I'm not talking about like running 30 to 50, 60%. I'm talking about like 10%, 20% over the course of the summer. Now you have some coins that are running 80 to 100% today that actually did multiple X's. One stupid coin called H. So there are coins that are putting in numbers like that, but they are illiquid and low volume. But major caps are the ones that I tend to trade. So lowest volatility since last year, okay? And I expect a big move to happen within the next, now this is summer. Usually when we hit the zone, a big move happens within, 2 to 3 days. But because this is summer, it could take a while to play out. Now, this week we could have some news that could send us, in either direction. I still think Bitcoin range bound. So if we take a look at June of last year, okay, here is June of last year. Okay, so notice how, I don't know why I'm on the 4 hour. So notice how this range was very tight. Okay, this was like a 2K, 3K range, which is about like 6%. This looks very similar to this, right? Before we went down. Okay, now are we going to follow the same exact pattern as last time? Now, currently on the daily, we actually do have a downtrend. Okay, highs, lower highs, possibly another lower highs, into lows, to lows. So are we actually going to go down and put in another lower low and still be within this, channel here? Or are we just going to break out here? I honestly don't know, because even back then, right, even back here, we looked like we were in a bull flag, right? Highs, and then we went back down, and this was just a long ascending channel, right? Yes, we had the breakouts above, sure, you can say that. But look at this. Looks pretty similar, right? Like this was just continuation all summer, just ranged a little bit lower, then ranged a little bit lower. Now, one can also argue that we are actually at this point in time where we swept the lows, right? Reclaimed, triple tap pattern, and then went higher. Swept the lows, right? SFP'd, reclaimed. Maybe we go down for another triple tap around 100K, which is also an order block down here. So if we do something like this, in the event that we do, that is where you want to buy. This is a clean triple tap pattern. If we do go down there, and your setup would look something like this. Okay. Now keep in mind that we have liquidity down here, so we could go and sweep it, but something just like that could be something that plays out if we are going to play out the same fractal as we did down here. All right. But don't expect huge moves from Bitcoin. It's probably like another 1 to 2K range in both directions before we have either a quick send down here. This wasn't quick, right? We swept, went a little bit higher, we swept, went higher, and then slow grind down over the course of the last week of August through mid-September. So same thing could happen here, but expect volume to be very dry. As long as Bitcoin consolidates, there will be some coins that are going to run. You just have to find them, right? So that's what I have on Bitcoin. I gave you guys the possible short opportunity. You can watch the last video I made on my Bitcoin and my Bitcoin micro and macro analysis. But the levels will still remain the same. And let's move on. Let's take a look at ETH. So another barcoding pattern. ETH is in a downtrend. Okay, this was uptrend, highs, okay, into lower highs, into another lower high. Now, typically in a downtrend, consolidation on support usually leads to a move lower, all right? But because we have absolutely zero volume and you can literally do anything but trade crypto right now and you'll be fine. Maybe we have a slow grind up, but the boss level that ETH needs to get above is this supply zone here. The clear 2850-ish and flip it to support. Okay, then we will gun for this $3,500 level. All right, but until that happens, I expect us to just range bound something like this. Okay, now yes, we can go ahead and draw some patterns which are absolutely completely useless in this space. You want to just use support resistance and use your flips. But if you talk about something like this, okay, then we just had our bearish retest of this trend line. Now, as a trader, you must keep an open mind. You must have a bearish case and a bullish case. Okay, bearish is bearish retest here, made another lower high, and then continued down back to the support around 2100. I do think eventually ETH will go and test this blue box around 1800. So if we are able to get, anything below 21 to 1800, that is a buying opportunity. Demand is strong there. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I believe it will eventually. That is a great buying opportunity, and if you are a long-term investor, that's where you want to buy. Short term, there's nothing going on. Volatility is just low. So if you really want to trade, right, for the past week and a half, we've just been in this $80 range. So just play the range until broken. Keep in mind that you have a huge, not a huge, but a decent supply zone there. Okay. You have untapped liquidity there, and you have untapped liquidity there. Okay. So a sweep of either direction, okay, is a opportunity for a scalp play. All right. You have an order block here. In the event that we get a deeper retrace over the next couple of days, you could take a potential long here and play it back to that supply zone. Now, stop loss placement's a little tough because you have this big wick that happened there, but I'd place it below support. And then in the event, now this did reject from the supply zone. If you guys know my method, that 50% had been taken out, but this is also clear resistance. So again, SFP, clear the highs, close below, stop loss below or above the wick, and you can play it back down to there. All right. So when volatility is low like this, you'll have to go to a lower time frame, whether it's the 2-hour, the 1-hour, the 30-minute, and trade that way. Okay, it's very hard to swing trade unless you do it on spot. Okay. Solana looks very good. Yesterday's candle had a nice breakout in a way. So we did break out. We are facing resistance here, so I mean you have to be cautious. Basically, this whole entire whoa, one sec. This whole red area is resistance. Okay, but again, you had a descending channel. If we are able to get above here and flip 150-ish, sorry, 154, then we should go and target these highs around 180. Okay, that would be a great opportunity to short as well. 174-ish. You have an order block with a cluster of supply. You also have a potential for a short around this order block. So this would be more of a scalp short. And you could take another swing short here. Now the Sol ecosystem and their coins are proving to be very strong in this range. So these are the coins that, in my opinion, you should be focusing on trading, right? So I wouldn't be focused on shorting them as much as longing pullbacks. But you know, Bitcoin went to 108.3 today, right? Rejected back down to 107.2 or whatever. The highs for Sol was 153-ish, almost 152.4. So we are $800 less than where we were earlier on BTC, and Sol is only down $1, right? Why is that? Well, let's take a look at the BTC parent. Sol is outperforming BTC here. All right, so that means on every, this looks actually really good. Double bottom. Okay. I haven't used this chart in a while, so let's just clean this up. Oh, even a higher time frame double bottom with a sweep. Yeah, I mean, and we had a breakout. This is definitely a coin that you want to keep your eyes out on. All right, every retrace that we are having, this is going to not get hit as hard. So if let's say BTC goes down to 106, 105, and lose like 3%, 2%, this might lose like less than 0.5% or a percent, right? So this is outperforming BTC. Now, clear range on Sol BTC. Okay, goes back up there. That's where you're looking to offload, but that would be the neckline for this double bottom, and the measured target would be around, if we flip it, right, basically back into this resistance here. Okay, so everything treated as levels. You shouldn't think of, oh, you know, Sol's going to what, $200. Okay, that's not how it works. You have levels that you have to address. First, 154. Second, right, this SR point of 161, 174, and then vice versa. Or sorry, 185 and then 200. Okay, you can't just talk about a certain level being hit without other levels being rejected or respected. Okay, now in the event that we get a pullback, this would be a nice area for we actually did have a BOS as well, but this would be a nice area for another higher low and a potential move to the upside. Okay. The next level would be around here. But Sol looks good as long as BTC doesn't completely nuke, and if it does, this would remain one of the stronger coins because of its BTC pairing. Another strong coin, SUI. Okay. Put in a higher low here. Okay. Now, this could easily be some type of bear flag in the making. So if this continues to go up to another touch there, that's where I'd be looking to sell. Now this is a higher time frame, so this could take some time to play out. But looking at this on the daily, this also looks very similar to Sol. Okay. The next touch of this trend line won't come until around 3, but let's break it down on a more lower level here. We are basically at a very crucial point here for SUI. Again, first higher low here, can come back down here and put in another higher low, but I wouldn't call this a cup and handle. This is a V-shaped, a cup. You want it to be more of a wide base, but this looks like if we are able to flip this resistance into support, you have a nice potential long in the making. Probably back to like 315 highs and very, very tight stops. TP1 would be the trend line, right? But in the event that we don't get this flip or this breakout, then this would be a nice area to long. Okay. Something like that. Okay. I really don't know what it's going to do here. Now this is a coin that depends on Bitcoin's run at the moment. I don't think the BTC chart looks hot. I haven't checked it. I mean, it's at a I don't know. This doesn't look clean. You can also say that this looks like a potential head and shoulders, but so I mean this doesn't look like it's outperforming like Sol BTC was. So if Bitcoin goes down, this will get hit hard. But a head and shoulders, you need the neckline to break, retest, and then you could take shorts on the USDT pairing. So we are at a critical area for SUI. USDT is at resistance. BTC pairing looks to be on support here. Now this is a 3-day chart, but it doesn't look as strong as the Sol BTC pairing. So if Bitcoin goes down, this will be a coin that gets harder than say Sol. All right. So these are the areas that I'd be looking at. Unless we get a flip of this, that's where I'd be looking to long. And this is where I'd be looking to short. Around 303 with stops above 316. Would also possibly be another lower high, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, a very strong coin, and again, Sol ecosystem coins such as Fartcoin, Pengu. I haven't looked at the other ones, but I heard Jupe is doing well too. SPX is on a different level. But if you take a look at these coins, these had nice, massive breakouts. Okay. Now the measured target of this falling wedge is around these highs here, actually. Okay. Now let's take this into another level. There's your cup and there's your handle. And the measured target for this cup and handle is around 26 cents. Or what? 0.026. This is where I'd be taking profits first, this little supply zone. But this is just a measured target. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. The last time I nailed something like this was on this shitcoin. Okay, so you had the falling wedge target, which hit perfectly. And I'll show you guys. Okay, so there's that. And then you had the cup and handle pattern. Sorry for the dogs in the back. All my videos are raw. I don't use editors. I'm not a YouTube influencer. So cup and handle pattern. I don't know how I got that. Oh, that's why. Okay. So around there. So this looks very similar to this. Okay, notice how both the shitcoins had a nice retrace down. And then cup base. This looks more cuppy than this. But there's the falling wedge, nice breakout. First major level is going to be this 15 cents, which is the neckline of this cup and handle. Okay, and then also after that you have the highs here, just like we had the highs there. We swept. Here was the highs. We swept, and then I had a little retrace. Expect the same thing once these highs are taken out. Take out the highs, retrace. Hopefully we flip this into support and then continue to go higher. Okay, so these are the coins that are on my radar. Obviously, Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol are the ones that I trade the most. The strongest one is going to be Sol out of all of them. Pengu looks really good. Actually in this coin from 12.8, 0.0128, and I'm hopefully holding to 22 cents, 25 cents. And this has negative funding. If you take a look at the spot chart, see how the spot price is a little bit higher than this. It just means that there's negative funding. People are trying to short this. And here's a little pro tip for all you traders out there. If a coin is up a lot, right, it doesn't mean it's going to go down. So if you're opening shorts because, oh, it has like a 20% or 30% move, you could absolutely get fucked. Here is another one. Okay, I don't know what this is, but right, it's up, 111% a day. Okay, there are coins doing this. So, when people are talking about alt season, some coins are in the alt season of their own. Now, what happens is people see this candle like, oh, this coin's up 70% in a day. and they short only to get destroyed, right? You can't have that mindset. You short at resistance, you long at support. That's it. You shouldn't be trading something based off how much a coin has gone up or down. And if you do, I've heard, okay, I'm in a Discord. Well, I won't be anymore because I'm leaving all the servers that I'm currently in. But literally, this person said that he thinks TA is a scam, and they are a server owner. So unfollow those people. Don't rely on those people because they have no idea what they're talking about. They're most likely taking plays from someone else and making it as if it's their own, right? If you are trading, you should only be looking at technical analysis. Fundamental analysis doesn't mean shit. As we saw, okay, as we saw before this news happened, right? Before this news happened, we rejected right at resistance, and the news that I'm talking about is the recent war news, right? We went right into resistance and then we rejected. Did the news tell you where we were going to reject? Did fundamentals tell you where we were going to reject? No, resistance did, and the news just further accelerated that whole entire move down. Okay? Swept the lows, right? Did the news tell you where we were going to bounce? No, technical analysis did. Right on support with an SFP, and then we bounced. Okay? So these influencers or whatever that are telling you that TA is a scam or whatever, it tells a lot about them and the shit that they're shilling in their servers. All right. So, I would pick one or two coins that you guys have been successfully trading. So for me, the strongest coin currently in the market is Sol and Sol ecosystem coins. And if you are having success with those, I would trade those. Coins like whatever this is, I would stay away from, even though they have high negative funding. They're just super volatile. And Pengu, it has nasty wicks like this, right? So this would be a good coin to trade on spot. I do think that this runs to, potentially 50 to 60% higher from here, as long as this resistance is flipped. Okay. But leveraging this, you have to be able to stomach the volatility because these have low volume and low liquidity. All right. So, anyways, that's it for me, guys. I will try to make videos as I can. Again, just be patient. I am dealing with some personal stuff. And yeah, that's it for me.